Hi everyone, welcome to your latest planning outlook that's updated on Tuesday the 3rd of March. We've got generally cold air that is staying in place across the British Isles through this week and even onwards into next week. It may be that temperatures stay on the chilly side, but some cycles of freeze and thaw beginning to develop a bit more widely. Difficulty with detail as patterns are just a bit more slower moving to what we've seen in recent weeks, so confidence of day by day weather more than 3 or 4 days ahead is getting rather tricky. Let's see what we can make of things though, and starting off with temperatures, this showing you the values at 850 millibars, corresponding to around 1300 metres or so at this stage, and this is as we go into the first part of Wednesday, and temperatures around -4 or 5 on those highest Scottish tops. We have something of a warm sector just encroaching across the south of the British Isles, which will lift freezing levels across Wales for a time, but it stays a generally chilly day across northern Britain and the mountain terrain staying very much frozen. Bit of thawing up to about 600 metres or just above in some afternoon sunshine. Onwards for the rest of this week, and it's that familiar chilly westerly flow that's still around, not a great deal changing with the overall temperature and freezing level sequence. We'll see some frost overnight, some quite hard frosts in the Highland glens through the nights ahead, and then daytime temperatures lifting above freezing up to about 600 metres or just above. It may be as we head onwards into the weekend that temperatures tend to lift a little bit as the wind turns a bit more southwesterly, so even up to the highest Scottish tops we may get close to freezing point or just above temporarily. But it's not a great marked lift of temperature. We're still on a generally cold, cool pattern at the very least coming in off the Atlantic. Some suggestion though next week that we may just see a few more marked rises of temperature coming in, so a scope for a bit of thawing towards higher tops, but still never too far from a cooler air mass, particularly coming across Scotland, so the higher mountains there staying close to freezing point or just below much of the time. Meanwhile, England and Wales more often lifting just above freezing point. The existing snow cover that's in place across the Highlands not really going too far in the next week to 10 days. I think that's the overriding message there. Quite icy conditions on the tops of England and Wales. There will be some thawing of that snow cover, but do be aware of refreezing of the conditions periodically. Onwards to the charts then, this starting off with the next few days ahead for Wednesday first of all, and we've got a complicated feature even in the short term with low pressure just skirting across the southwest of the British Isles with a front edging northwards into Wales, and that producing some rain and some hill snow for a time. Even at this stage, how far north across Wales that gets is uncertain. It may never quite make it to the far north coast, even through most of daylight, but something of general area of dampness of rain and some hill snow is likely to edge northwards, and some of that may even make it to the Peak District later on in the day, although amounts fairly small. A few snow showers and flurries elsewhere further north across the western hills in Scotland, but for much of the Pennines, the lakes and eastern parts of Scotland it's a dry day with light winds. The low pressure system that's causing the complications moves across the English Channel toward the Low Countries into Thursday, a wraparound or a front more or less clearing away. 1 or 2 areas of showers and some low cloud around at first across Wales and the southernmost Pennines, but that should clear with cloud bases lifting and breaking, leaving just 1 or 2 areas of showers coming in locally on a northerly wind across some of the coastal hills in Wales. Across Scotland, it's very much similar to Wednesday, with a few snow and hail showers focused around western coastal hills, but largely dry once you go well inland across the Highlands, and very light winds with quite a slack pressure pattern across Scotland on Thursday. It's a messy, complicated story toward the end of the week as various bits of fronts come in from the west, and there'll be areas of showers around, and some places those could merge into something a bit more organised, with some snow and some hail coming into the western hills of Scotland, the risk of a couple of hours of fairly persistent snowfall across the mountains once again in the west, but very little of that may well get to eastern regions through the day on Friday, and a few bands of showers coming into Wales and western parts of the lakes and Pennines at times. Temperatures then generally staying on the chilly side right across the UK mountains. Now the weekend gives great complications. This chart for Saturday looks very optimistic at face value, but it's one of a few choices between the forecasting models at this stage, and it could be that the frontal system shown out over the Atlantic is already steaming in with a bit more strength, so be very cautious about planning absolute detail at this stage for the weekend. We may have a window of opportunity of a decent day in between weather systems for Saturday, but I'd just suggest to stay right up to date with things. Things might might be deteriorating more than this particular chart does suggest. Likewise for Sunday, I won't really try and get clever at this stage. It's one of those times where we've just got to watch the forecast, see how things evolve later in the week, and just see where things have got to in terms of timing. There is the likelihood then of something of a front coming in from the west with some cloud and areas of snow and some rain lower down that may become persistent across Western Hills. Again, we'll just watch the timing. I'll update the video again through the later part of the week, and we'll just see where things have got to. It's basically just one of those times where the atmospheric patterns are a bit more slack and not moving around quite as quickly, and that does give some complications in terms of how the computers handle things, and even for us analysing it, all we can say is that confidence of day-by-day detail becomes low more than a few days ahead. We can get a general trend, but the timing just becomes very treacherous. Onwards into next week, and I suspect that story is going to continue. We can't get the absolute detail at this stage, but it's an overall message of occasional builds of higher pressure from the southwest, which will try and lift temperatures at least temporarily. But with low pressure and still some cold air over the North Atlantic that's not too far away, I suspect there's still the odd day of much chillier temperatures and some snow and hail showers coming in off the North Atlantic, as we've seen quite familiarly in recent weeks. So bit of a mixture onwards through next week, both in terms of general weather and temperatures. We may get some windy days, we may get some days where the winds drop quite light. That will chop and change from day to day. Still focusing most of the precipitation on Western Hills in Scotland as we head onwards really through the middle part of March. That seems to be the ongoing trend. Lower than average pressure suggested on this chart toward the northwest of us around Greenland and Iceland. Higher than average pressure away to the south and east. A prevailing pattern then that comes in as a west or a southwesterly with fluctuating air masses from day to day, I think, as we head onwards. Drier conditions maybe than we've seen in recent times. It doesn't take much really across England and Wales with higher pressure nearby, with most of precipitation still focused across Western Hills, particularly in Scotland. So stay up to date with your forecasts for the weekend. I'll try and get a video out for you on Thursday so we can plan ahead and hopefully things a bit clearer by that time. Thanks for watching today. Bye for now.